Hey everybody, Kyle Postlethwaite, also known as Malcare here at Big Kitty Games. I got a cheap new webcam and fancy mic here. It's kind of picking up a lot of game. I think I'm still still playing with it, but wanted to give another update as to what's going on. It was actually a 3-day weekend over here. Japanese don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but they have something similar that was just this last weekend. So I had a very busy weekend, super tired yesterday, but I got a lot done today that I'm excited to talk about. Basically, there's kind of like a main script that's labeled harvestable object, that's kind of like the parent class that goes on to ore, animals, trees, anything that's harvestable. And I first started writing that, of course, way back in 2017. So today I started really going through and cleaning that up and adding a bunch of options to it, because it was kind of a mishmash of, if this is an animal, then do this. If this is a cactus, then do that, kind of stuff that I had added on over the years. So I reworked it to be a lot more malleable, and in doing that I'm now able to specify per object should there be a possible reward bonus upon completion, which for example is something like if you finish harvesting a wolf, you're going to get wolf fang and wolf claws, which are used in enchanting. So now I can specify a minimum and a maximum and any item like that to any sort of harvestable object. We also have common and uncommon and so forth harvests, which would be like when you're harvesting ore and you get a lucky rare piece of ore, even though you're harvesting normal ore. That's also now a per object thing that I can do. So I've actually started adding in some new items. This is kind of one of the obvious ones, is that chickens were dropping, and it was just called raw meat. It wasn't, maybe it was poultry, but pigs and chickens and cows and everybody were just dropping raw meat. So now there's red meat, white meat, and poultry. Chickens also don't give hide anymore. They're going to be giving feathers. Bears, foxes, and rabbits have a chance to reward fur upon completion. Scorpions have chitin, and some other things, and I hope I pronounced that right. So kind of just in the early stages of adding more items into the game right now. And just yesterday I actually upgraded the pathfinding system, which the way that I was doing it previously, it was sort of like an area-based system where, currently we have a 128 meter section of the world will load in, and you'll have trees and the towns and the animals and whatever in that section will get loaded piece by piece. And pathfinding uses what's called a navigation mesh, or a nav mesh, and so it would calculate a nav mesh for that 128 meter area, and then if you put a building down it would update just that area, for example. But that caused a lot of problems because it's not built for the merging of nav meshes. So if an animal or a monster came to the edge of a nav mesh, they would do this kind of dance, and I had set up some sort of hacks where it would then kind of shove them over into the next nav mesh, and then they could hopefully keep going. But this caused them to sometimes be running diagonal and this and that. So what it's doing now is it's actually generating a larger single area around the player, and this is done off thread, so it actually has almost no impact on performance, as long as you've got at least 2 cores, which by now everybody should have at least 2. So almost no impact, no change to performance, and then every 50 meters you move it updates that, or if you place down a building, for example, it updates that. So, and actually monsters aren't even turned on unless they're within 128 meters of a player in any case. So I think it's going about 250 meters out right now, which is sort of to add that safety margin. I think it's 200 in each direction, and then if you cross a 50-meter threshold, it'll redraw around you again. And if it has to redraw, monsters and animals are more than capable of just figuring out the new nav mesh in a single frame, and they just keep running. So it's working good, and the sort of better thing about that is that it's now no longer sort of like a surface system and then a cave system and then an island system and all of this, which it previously was, because you have to calculate had to calculate caves differently than above ground areas previously. Now it's all just based around the player, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing. So that's great moving forward, as I do want to start adding more areas using the current cave system, but not caves, to actually have sort of and I've been talking about this for a long time, but I really want to get like a fire sort of lava island portal, which was a lot of fun in Diablo 2. Had those sort of, I call them pocket dimensions, and a lot of games have those, where you've got the overworld that's got the majority of things in it, but then there's these kind of challenge areas that maybe aren't more than, again, like a kilometer or 500 meters or even less, sort of mini dungeons that you can then go into, and that opens up ground to add more monsters in. We've already got a lot of animals in that really aren't providing any sort of specific items. Like I said, I added feathers and fur and chitin, and we can do venom glands and different things like this with some of the monsters that are already in game. But it would be nice to add a lot more monsters, not just for item drops, but also so we can start working on monster skills. And this all really relates back to, of course, crafting. I haven't posted the results for the survey yet. I'm still getting a new survey response in here and there, but it's a crafting game and everybody's kind of obviously on board with that. But I think like the first games that I made when I started getting into this were just pure crafting. That was all you did, was craft. You pounded metal, you made a sword, da 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 da. And I realized that really the reason for me, and I think for a lot of us, that crafting is so fun is because you then use that stuff that you craft to go out and conquer the challenges that face you, or that you face. So it is nice to have more monsters and more areas and things to go to, but kind of the underlying real reason for that is new crafting materials, new crafting recipes, new enchanting recipes. So just kind of can't pile everything in all at once, so kind of going through some stages here of upgrading pathfinding, upgrading how harvesting things that you've taken down works. We'll be working on loot tables for things that monsters can drop, such as maybe we were talking in Discord last night about deconstructible equipment. Like, I don't really think it's a good idea to have, say, like a skeleton boss drop a big sword that you just pick up and you start using that, because it's a crafting game. I've always thought that was kind of silly, that a paladin is wielding the flaming sword from some demon lord. It's like, if we can go and get components that we break down from the item and equipment drops that we get from those mobs, and then turn them into new things. I think that's a much more interactive sort of feel-good system, to give us that sense that we've made the items ourselves, but still have that adventuring and exploration aspect to it. So that's what I'm working on right now. I do already have, I think, about 5 new monsters queued up to get into the game. But really what I want to do before I start adding just monsters in just for the sake of it, and I am going to add those in because they've got kind of good places for them to be, is to actually get monster skills working, which shouldn't be too tough, but you know, have like Scorpion Sting, have an elemental ground smash, you know, and some of these different things like that. So a few different things in the works. Of course, working on bug fixes is an ongoing process, so thank you again to everybody that's posting bugs on the new bug tracker. Please do give that a visit if you haven't, or if you have a problem with anything. Not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to get the patch out that I want to today. If I do, it's going to be missing some item icons and some things, but not a big deal. There's some good fixes in there anyway, so probably will just be exporting it and putting it up to beta for now. And we do need to get a patch onto the live branch sort of in the near future, because beta has been cleaned up quite a bit, and it's just running a lot better in general than what's going on. And I think the Steam sales are going to start running here. I don't think they're running yet, but you know, they always do the fall sale and then the winter sale, and so want to try and give it the best impression we can to the new players, regardless of the fact that we are in early access. So yeah, just wanted to do a quick video, kind of try out my new cheap little camera here that's got kind of a funny fisheye lens here, and this new mic that I got that, like I said, seems to be picking up a lot of gain, but hopefully I can clean that up and make this a more normal thing. So hope everybody's doing well. Starting to get cold here. Stay warm, and we'll talk to you again soon.